I got love for you, man. You know what I'm saying?
What are we talking about? You know, I'm not here to start any trouble.
I'm only going to say nice things about you from now on. I think you're handsome, and I think you're a wonderful host.
I'm fat and I'm overweight.
Just don't say anything silly.
I was waiting for you to say that.
I'm not laughing about it. You think this is funny? I take it serious.
You know, I don't want y'all to take anything out of context that I'm saying.
He's very funny. He likes to joke around a lot.
As a personality and as an entertainer, yes.
This is going to be really quick. I'm not taking any questions.
Go ahead and get comfortable. I'm going to talk for a little bit.
You're listening to Cabbie Presents, the podcast.
Welcome back to the podcast. Thank you for the click or the subscription or the download. I'm your host, Cabbie Richards. If you're discovering these conversations for the first time, you can check out my immature posts on Instagram and Twitter. It's at The Real Cabbie, Cabbie. A lot of food pics, movie reviews, links to bloopers, and the occasional thank you. I ask that you give me a 4-week trial. But I'm sure you'll get sick of it before then. As it's been since its inception, this is a pop culture podcast. Sports meets music, meets fashion, meets entertainment, meets fun. It's all in here. If you're unfamiliar with my guest, you won't be for very much longer. For many, this will be the first time you experience him, and it will not be the last. As Biggie Smalls once said, blowing up like you thought I would, call the crib, same number, same hood. This dude is all good. A friend of mine who's a DJ/producer, born in Toronto and now dominates the airwaves in Atlanta, joins me in the studio right now.
If it's going to be an interview, I'm going to conduct it. So I'll answer my own questions, ask myself the questions, then give y'all the answers.
When I first became aware of this man, it was on the party scene in Toronto, at nightclubs, etc. Toronto's home to some of the world's best DJs. But this dude made a name for himself. I didn't know what he looked like. I didn't know his ethnicity. I just heard his name, Baby U. He became one of those DJs where people would go to hear him spin, go to experience him regardless of the venue. His talent was undeniable, and his good looks didn't hurt his growth either. Always fashionable, always photogenic. I used to bug Baby U for his mixtapes, which back then were on CDs in the 2000s. I remember fondly a Kanye West mixtape that I think I lent somebody, and then I had to go ask him for another one. In one of our text message exchanges years ago, he told me that he was moving to Atlanta in 2008. And I had returned from Atlanta on 2 separate trips, not really feeling the city. I went in 2007 for the NCAA men's basketball final, and I watched the Ohio State Buckeyes, the Greg Oden Ohio State Buckeyes, lose to Joakim Noah and his back-to-back championship Florida Gator team. And then I went in 2008 to the NHL All-Star Weekend. And we were in Buckhead, and I don't know, something about it, I just wasn't feeling it. Atlanta, to me, at the time, was one of those cities with a huge reputation as a party town. It just never delivered. But for Baby U, the move paid off in a massive way. Currently, he's laying down beats for 2 coveted radio shows in Atlanta on V103 FM. The Ryan Cameron Show in the morning, and the Big Tigger Show in the afternoon. A couple of gigs here in Toronto provided an opportunity for this conversation, and I'm happy and pleased to be joined in studio with DJ Baby U. Welcome to Cabbie Presents.
Yes, Cabbie. Thank you. Appreciate you, man.
My pleasure. Hey, so what'd you do last night?
Oh, I DJ'd at this spot called Vogue Supper Club, and it was this party by Round Table, and they do this kind of theme party called 2000 Till, where all the music is from the 2000 and on.
Oh,
only.
That's pretty cool.
But they're very strict, because if you hit a song that's from 1999,
right,
that was recorded or released in December of 1999, they're gonna call you out on it. Like it's crazy.
So you couldn't play like remember when, and I don't even know if you and I had this conversation. I feel like we did. But remember when Diddy came out with that album, like We Invented the Remix?
Yeah.
And there's like, you can't play Total.
Nothing.
You couldn't play G-Dep.
Nope.
You couldn't play like, you couldn't play Maze.
Zero. Because I was researching before I came on, and it's like, I was surprised with all the tracks. They were like, all the good stuff was in the 90s.
Yeah,
like,
the late 90s. Yeah, yeah.
Like, it's crazy.
So
like,
did you have to start with like Nelly? Like EI or Hot in Here?
I had that on my list.
Or you had to play Ja Rule last night, didn't you?
I did play Ja Rule, and people actually liked it because, you know, it's kind of like old school to them, I guess, the crowd that comes to that party. So, but I still had fun. It was a difficult party to play for because I was constantly thinking, okay, I hope it's not 1999, 96. I had to make sure I was ready for that. So it was tough, but it's fun. On
Facebook and Twitter and Instagram, you can find them at DJ Baby U. That's DJ BABYYU. He's got a pretty dope website also, which I was creeping on, and we'll get to my crush with Sierra in a second. So when you're a DJ, how do you judge a good night?
How do I judge a good night?
Yeah. What is a good night to you as the curator of, you know, hundreds or thousands of people's experience going out?
I think no matter what kind of race or age group, it's just as long as the people are there to just have fun. Like, there's some times when I go to clubs, they're just there to just pose and not really trying to dance or anything. Like, I love that crowd where they want to sing to the songs that I play and, like, you know, just want to wild out, you know what I mean? Just have a good time, because some people just go in with a negative attitude. Like,
right.
What do you expect? I'm trying to give you that positive vibe, but it's sometimes too hard for me even. So I think when you have that open mind and you come in ready to party, that's the crowd that I love.
But how do you, but then how do you the next day process a good night? Like, is it like nobody, do you judge a good night by like nobody came to the booth to bug you to play their song, or most of the night you just saw either like hands waving or just saw bodies just moving?
I think it's hard to explain. Like, DJs know what I'm talking about, but it's like you feel it during the whole entire night. Like, I don't have to be at the end of the night, oh, that was a good night. Like, you know, oh, this is a good, really good night.
What does it look like? What does that feel like?
I don't know, man. You just feel goosebumps, man. Like, when you play certain songs and you just feel that goosebumps because people going crazy over certain things, the way you put songs together, and at the end of the day, like, anybody could just play any song, but it's all about programming and what song comes after the next one,
right? And
how you build the night. And when everything goes right, you feel it during the night, and it's like, that's when I know it's okay. It was a good night. I've heard
this about Wayne Gretzky, and I've heard this about Michael Jordan. They're always thinking 2 plays ahead. So
yes.
when you are, you know, at your turntables or at your laptop, are you also thinking, okay, not just the next song, but like a series of songs, maybe it's 3 or 4 that you can play in succession?
That's crazy that you bring that up, because most times when people come to me while I'm DJing, I can't even think, like, because I'm thinking 4 or 5 songs ahead, like Wayne Gretzky is with like all his plays. It's like all of us as DJs, we're thinking about which direction we're trying to take. Well, most good DJs, if you've been experienced enough to be at that point, but it's like you think about which direction you want to go, and then you see, and as if you're a good DJ and one song doesn't work, you have to be ready to go another way.
So, but that's solely based on the crowd's reaction to it?
Yes.
Now, two questions about, and now this is like, I am insanely jealous of your talent, okay? And I'm even more jealous of your stature. But more, actually, no, I should say talent first, stature second. And being a how hot do the females need to be in order to stand behind you in the DJ booth? Because every time I look up when I'm out, there are always girls in the DJ booth. So do they have to be 8s? Do they have to be 9s? What is the standard for you,
man?
Baby?
I don't discriminate, man.
Come on. Honestly, if there's a girl in there looking like me, you'd be like, listen, okay, what song do you want? And you got to keep it moving.
Oh, man. Well, you know, like I said, I don't discriminate. But
Okay.
at the end of the day, though, it's like, it's funny because with me, I don't drink or anything.
Right.
So I'm really like a nerd when it comes to DJing. I don't really have anybody in the booth. It's like
okay,
corny.
okay.
It's so corny.
No, that's
like,
not corny. You're there to work.
Yeah. And that's how I look at it. But a lot of people don't look at it. Like people, other DJs that I know, they have like 2 bottles in the booth. They have like 10 girls in the booth. Like I couldn't even like work around it. Like imagine you doing your TV show and it's like there's like 10 girls behind you trying.
Oh no, dude, I would love that. I would love that. Yeah.
Especially when you're like interviewing Kobe or something. You have 10 girls behind you.
I don't know if Kobe would like it so much, but I would certainly enjoy that.
Man.
And I've asked this question to I've had Tom Rex or T-Rex in here, and I asked him this question, and so I'm going to ask it to you as well. Who do you think gets more play from women, the DJ or the personal trainer? Both are, to me, very attractive to girls because the DJ has all the power for the night, all the power, and the personal trainer, it's just that one-on-one, and he or she is generally, I'm going to say he is generally pretty sculpted, and you're there body to body.
I would say, I mean, both would, they have their strengths, but I think the trainer has an advantage over us because we actually, as a DJ, have to kind of work. We have to kind of like socialize because at the end of the day, when I go to work, I go in, play my music, but sometimes I don't talk to nobody and just walk out and there's
So
nothing.
You don't have to socialize.
I don't have to socialize, but they have to. And when you have that one-on-one trying to hold them, like, you know what I mean? Like, here, you got to squat lower and you're kind of touching their thighs a little bit and things, spark up.
Right.
So
just pheromones just start to just explode.
I think they got the upper hand, man, unfortunately.
That's what T-Rex said too. He said, and, he said the interesting thing that he said was, there's like, you might see like that really hot girl at like 11 o'clock or like 12, but by 2, she could be a real hot mess. So whereas she was dope when she was sober or just had a little buzz, by the end of it, when she's sweaty and she's had too many drinks, it all falls apart.
Oh man, like eyelashes coming off.
Right. Yes. And like the thing that gets me, not that I'm ever in the mix for really hot girls at clubs, like my range, I'm like 4 to 6 out of 10. That's my sweet spot. So I'm the thing that I don't like, but I'm not gonna turn them away is when girls take their shoes off. Whether it's inside a spot or like outside walking on the dirty streets of name your city on planet Earth, no streets are clean. It just, they take the shoes off.
No, that's serious, man, because I know people, I see it all the time inside the club, and even at the end, I understand, like, it's tough wearing those heels.
Yeah, their feet are in pain. Yeah, we get it.
And when I see them outside walking to inside the parking deck and all that with bare feet, oh, man.
That's just like
that's gonna take days to wash off.
Oh, because all kinds of, there's grime, there could be glass. There's just a lot of just just gross.
Yeah, just scrub when you get home.
And like it's like there's wet toilet paper. It's like moist flyers and just the napkins that just get stepped on by like 100,000 people.
Yeah, you got to read about hepatitis and all that. It's all over the place.
Right. So has this ever happened to you? I just saw this I saw this over the weekend. Calvin Harris, I think he was spinning at Live. Calvin Harris, as you guys know, is a super famous producer. Feels so close to you right now. That was one of his songs. A girl at the club while he was DJing called him a sellout and yelled at him to play some different songs because he was playing a lot of his own catalog. So Calvin Harris stopped the jam, grabbed the microphone and started to address this one particular girl, like shut down the jam, lights up. And he said, why the F would you come to a Calvin Harris show and not expect to hear Calvin Harris songs, you dumb F and B? Get out. And then he had her removed from the club. Has it happened to you where you have been so frustrated with people coming to talk to you that you've wanted to do that? Or have you actually exchanged words with somebody at the club because of their behavior?
I mean, we have interesting people like patrons like her come up to us and we do get frustrated, but I understand Calvin Harris's frustration because he's right. Like it's like you go to Beyonce concert and sing something original. Like
play some Rihanna.
What's wrong with you, right? At the end of the day, but at the end of the day, though, like you gotta stay professional, no matter how much these people get to you. And I get it, like how he felt, but I don't think he should have done it at the end of the day. But I've been through it. Like people. Like there's points I was about to give my headphones to people. Like, okay, you want to do my job? Here, go. Just go. And I know actually DJs that done that. That people come up to them and be like, yo, but clueless people though. They're like, oh, can you play this and this and this, which was maybe played like 10 minutes ago. Like, do you think you could play this? I'm like, okay, you want to do, here, take my headphones. And he just walked off and went to the bar.
Come on.
She's standing there on stage inside the booth by herself, trying to figure out what to do now, like, and everyone's just watching because he was just like, you know what, I can't take this no. I'm going to bar getting a drink. But like, I feel all the DJs pain, man. We go through it a lot, and but at the end of the day, Calvin Harris, man, it's like I didn't think it was the most. I think it was his tipping point. Like he was really, really like out there to do that.
Maybe it's because she called him a sellout. Maybe because like his music is played on like. On commercial campaigns. I think Levi, like he's a massive DJ, and that happens to a lot of DJs. Their songs get so big that brands and companies want to align themselves with them because the song is like really hot right now. Like Bauer had he had a whole movement on YouTube for like 2 weeks.
Right.
With the Harlem Shake videos. But
you can only stay underground so long. Like if your stuff is that good, people just gonna love it, and if more people love it, the more commercial it gets. What can you do? Like,
hey, can you describe or the different types of DJs? Because you're a DJ and a producer, yeah? Because you create music, right? You don't just like spin at events and parties. Yeah. But then you also you're a tour DJ as well. So you are laying down the soundtrack for an artist's performance for thousands of people. So and those are the things that you embody. But what are the different types of DJs?
Initially, there were two types. There were the club DJs and there were the turntablist DJs.
Okay.
And it was two different worlds, especially when I was growing up. If you were with one, you usually didn't kind of mesh with both. But now the whole scene changed where the turntablism, all the guys that were into that, they actually became club DJs now, like guys like A-Track, guys like Junior Flow,
right,
Keys and Crates, right, and like Scratch Bastard to Grand Theft, all those guys that are doing well from Canada and whatnot, they were original turntablist DJs, and now they're in the club scene, so now it's like it's crazy to see all that. And so those were the two
and by a turntablist, you mean someone that used vinyl records and someone that was big on scratching and almost like performance art.
Right. It's like doing all those tricks like behind your back, and like it's all performance art and competitions.
Right. Okay. Yeah.
And so it was like underground based in a sense, if you were to compare it, and commercial for us club DJs because we're all over the place doing.
So it's by comparison, a club DJ was either playing a lot of music from a certain genre or playing the hits and moving. It was less the performance of the DJ and more about is this fair to say, more about the songs that they would put out? Is that fair to say?
Yeah, that's kind of the main, I think, difference. And for club DJs, one of the big things to understand is that to be a good club DJ, you have to understand programming. Like I used to DJ at nights from 10 to 3, like every Friday, Saturday by myself. And if you don't understand how to do that, you're not really a good club DJ, because anybody can come in and play for an hour and play all the hot hits. Anybody could do that.
Right.
You could do that. I could teach you in 5 minutes how to do that.
I would love that.
But, when you understand how to program, how important it is to how when people are coming in, getting their drinks the first 2 hours and trying to get them warmed up with like older hits, and then hit them with all the bangers from 12 to 2 or whatever, and then slow them down from 2 to 3. That's how you keep everybody there from 10 to 3, and club owners and everybody will love you for that, even patrons, because they came to have fun, not to go for 30 minutes. You know what I mean?
So the turntablists and the club DJ, So that those you said those are like the original two sort
Yeah.
of factions, and then you said it changed.
Now it changed. Now it's like, I think the history with the whole EDM scene too, like all these DJs, most of them were technically like producers first, from what I heard and and how I learned the whole EDM scene. And so
EDM is electronic dance music.
Yeah, and so when their songs popped, it's like they were kind of forced to DJ. So they had to get out there and perform in a sense, right? So that's a whole nother level, the producer first and then DJing after. And so that's what I learned with the whole EDM scene, which is cool too, like at the end of the day.
So, but you as far as your own start, you were DJ first, then you became a producer, yeah?
Yeah. So it kind of went, but there's most times though, guys like, I'm going to name guys like Little John, Jermaine Dupri, Swiss Beats. All those guys were DJs first.
Just Blaze.
Just Blaze. They're all DJs first. And that's why they're DJing again right now.
Right.
Because the whole scene got bigger and they're just kind of, yo, I was a DJ before this. But a lot of people don't know. It's like, oh, why are these producers DJing? I'm like, they started DJing.
Right.
You look at all the videos from the 90s. Little John's in the videos DJing.
Really?
Jermaine Dupri, before Crisscross, he was DJing. Like, these guys were DJs before anything. That's why they're back into it. And it's a good thing. Like, I love it though.
How did you become the remix kid?
It's so weird. Like, it just came to me because when I first started DJing, it wasn't like I wanted to be like him or I just started on my own. Like, I saw my friends DJ. I'm like, oh, that's a cool thing. I collect music, so I'm just gonna start. And when I started, I'm like, it's kind of boring just to play the songs that I already hear on the radio and mixtapes. So I'm like, so let me just flip it up. Let me just play this vocal with this instrumental, see how it sounds. And ever since I started DJing, that stuck on to me. And it's something that I love doing. And I kind of, I guess, naturally became my signature as a DJ, I guess.
How did the gig in Atlanta come to be? Because I remember complaining about Buckhead. I'm like, Buckhead, I guess in the early 2000s, that area of Atlanta used to pop. Like Buckhead, like, Ludacris was rhyming about it. And I can't think of anybody else. Ludacris was like probably the biggest commercial artist in that time, the early 2000s, from Atlanta. And you saw, Buckhead with, Little John and so, and then, there was like Usher but like, so a kid from Toronto and it's great, I guess in a macro sense, it's amazing that there's so much Canadian talent that's growing and then exploding in the United States, which is a weird thing being Canadian because that's almost how we validate our stars. And it's really bizarre that we do that. We have this inferiority complex to our neighbors to the south. But anyway, how did the gig, you being a DJ that toured a bunch throughout Canada, then become a resident DJ for a night spot in Atlanta?
It was a combination of a lot of things. Do you remember Jin the MC?
Yes, of course.
Who won all the battles on BET 106 and Park?
Yeah, there's Freestyle Fridays.
Right, so I was DJing for him.
Oh, okay.
Certain spots in the U.S. and across Canada and whatnot. And so he was obviously big in the Asian community, whatever. So he was doing any city in the U.S. as well. He was doing all those clubs, and especially in Atlanta, the promoter that was out there that knew him found out about me through that. And then not only that, I was doing XM radio, like the first, one of the, I don't know if anybody else was on XM, but I think I was the only Canadian that was on there hip-hop wise. So I was doing that. And then I think with all that combined, it just kind of got me to Atlanta with that promoter. And I would go out there maybe 4 times a year. And I'm like, one of the years that I went after New Year's, my management came with me for the first time, and they had a great time. And I remember him. He he was so drunk. He came up to the booth. He's like, "Yo, what do you think about moving here?" and I started laughing because for some reason, right before he asked me that question, I was thinking about it in my head. I'm like, I wonder how I'll do if I moved here. And then 5 months later, I moved.
That's amazing. That's amazing. And I remember, I think the next time I went to Atlanta in like 2009 or 2010 or something, I hit you up about spots, and you were on tour somewhere on planet Earth. So you weren't there, so I didn't have like my
Oh, right. Yeah,
my
yeah, I
my
remember.
my dude. Like it's always great when you go to a city, you know somebody there. You
Yeah,
have someone
exactly.
with the feet on the ground, so you can have a better experience. I'm in studio with DJ Baby U, who's also known as the Remix Kid, who's holding down Atlanta. It's so weird to have like a Canadian dude, a kid from Toronto, just holding down this one radio station. By holding down, I mean being a big source of input and output, being the DJ for these two big shows. You guys know in radio, the morning show and the afternoon drive shows, those are like the flagship shows for any radio station. And you are contributing to both, laying down beats and and music and whatever. Now you said you were doing something at XM radio, which didn't, from what I understand, didn't have the same restrictions as commercial radio does.
Yeah.
So do you find does your brain go numb when you have to you guys have to hit a certain 6 or 8 songs, you have to play a lot, right? Because those are the hot songs of the day.
Oh yeah.
So how do you?
I think I got. I
How do
was
you deal
used
with
to
that?
it. I was used to being in Canadian radio because
right.
we have that 40% rule where we have to play 40% Canadian. It's like 40%, right, per hour. CanCon rule, and so I was kind of used to, having restrictions and whatnot. But luckily, XM was pretty open, and they let me do whatever I wanted. And even with V103 now, it's like I remember the first time I got hired. When I got hired, I told my boss Reggie Rouse, I'm like, honestly, if you're gonna if you don't let me do what I do, there's no point in me being here. And he just looked at me. He's like, no, you're right. Like, I have you here for what you do. Just go. Just do whatever you want. And I'm really grateful for him to let me do that, because it's crazy, because we're one of the top 5 stations in the United States when it comes to ratings.
Oh, that's huge.
Yeah.
I didn't know that. That's
I mean,
huge.
like there's like other big hip hop stations across the U.S. that might be more famous than us in a sense.
Yeah.
But like rating wise, we're like top 5. So it's like for him to give me that leeway, like I'm grateful, because that, like, you don't understand. Sometimes I'm mixing like Miley Cyrus, Carly Rae Jepsen, Bieber with like, Travis Porter and Dr. Dre, like all together. And that was one of my missions though when I came to Atlanta, because when I first moved there, I was like, I couldn't believe how segregated the music scene was. Like, if you're hip hop, that's it. If you're in the top 40 scene, that was it. If you're in the Caribbean scene, that was it. No DJs kind of went around. Like,
as far as playing the kind of venues or events you could play.
It was
I
so
see.
different. And for me, it was so different, because as a Canadian dude, we do everything.
Everything, yeah.
And so I think that's one of the things that got me to better places quicker, because I was so versatile and I was able to do so many different kind of parties at once in Atlanta. And that helped me, I think, get at the station as well with Reggie, because I was able to play all these different types of genres. So.
I like it. I like your boss name, Reggie Rouse.
Reggie Rouse. He's the man. He's known. That guy is known in the radio industry. So.
Hey, so last night I'm reading this guy named Chuck Klosterman, who's like my favorite writer. He's like a pop culture guy.
Okay.
And he's probably got, I don't know, like 8 or 10 books. So I'm just like reading some stuff just to like maybe he writes these essays. He used to write, how I discovered him was in Esquire. He would write a monthly essay about whatever he wanted. It was something in the realm of pop culture. He had some relationship stuff too, but he's just a really smart dude. He sometimes he writes for Grantland, and I believe he used to write for Spin Magazine before Esquire, but I discovered him in Esquire.
Okay.
So I'm reading this, an essay about technology and how like it's gone out of control. We can't really control it. So, and I see you have the same phone that I do. We both have the Samsung or whatever, and we've become slaves to our devices, whether it's our phones or our laptops. And you being a DJ, are you a bigger slave to your phone or your laptop or your iPad or whatever you have?
Oh man!
Like, what are you on more often?
I would probably say it's a close tie, because I'm on my phone's with me like constantly, but when I'm working, like, the laptop, it's always the laptop or my desktop computer with music. So I think it's a close tie. I can't really I don't know.
If you have any downtime, which I imagine you don't, because I know you have weekend gigs and you have club gigs, and then you go on tour. And I want to get to some of the artists that you've worked with, because I know that it's like I saw this video with Floyd Mayweather.
Okay.
And he's like, he's basically talking about how rich he is, how much he loves money,
As
and
usual.
how successful. Yeah. And on the screen there's a list of all the opponents he's beaten. And it's I think he's 44-0. So there's 44 guys, but it's a big list.
Yeah.
So I think that your list of the artists, the urban artists that you've worked with, has got to be at least as deep as the amount of people that Floyd Mayweather has beaten in his career. I do want to get to that. So, but when you have any downtime and you're either on your phone or your computer, your laptop, what's the app or what's the thing that consumes your time? Like when you're just like, I have 10 minutes to kill, 15 minutes to kill here and there. What do you go on?
It's got to be Instagram and Twitter. I'm just like...
Which one, though? Which one more often do you think?
I think more Instagram now because of the pictures. I like to go and see what... I like to go on the random thing where you press
explore.
That one where you see people that you don't even know.
Yeah.
And sometimes I get inspired with whether it's fashion music or like what random funny things other people are doing, and so I like to kind of entertain myself.
See, I'm more Twitter than Instagram. Instagram, I'm not sure why. I do spend a little bit of time on it, but I'm always looking for information to feed my brain. But it's interesting that you say Instagram, because you're like an artist. Like you're one of the, and for people who aren't as familiar with Baby U, you're like one of the first DJs where I can remember like fashion or your style was like, I mean, your talent always was first, but your style was like a close second. Like you would be doing photo shoots, and you'd always have like you just have a very distinct style, right. and people started to know your face. Where a lot of DJs, you know their name.
Right.
I couldn't pick Avicii out of a friggin' lineup. I mean, I know what Grand Theft looks like. In Canada, you might have heard of starting from scratch, but you may not necessarily know what he looks like.
Right.
But you're one of the first DJs where your style and your image was, and you have a cool logo. You have, with the hair and stuff.
Yeah.
And I remember distinctly this girl. And maybe it always comes back to girls, but this girl was talking about how good looking you were. This girl that I knew, and she's from Calgary, and she's like, "Baby, you's coming. Are you going to be?" I'm like, "No, I'm not. No, I'm not going all the way to Calgary just to see the dude. I can see him here." But I remember how I felt. I'm like, "Oh, this dude is like just women, funny. Just like soaking this dude up."
I don't know. Branding is something that I guess I had a good management team, so I made sure that everything's on point. And fashion is something that I always loved. Like ever since I think in grade school, like I was always conscious of what to wear. I remember it was 7th and 8th grade, like who like cares about what you wear, but me and my group of friends were like into fashion and just love just clothing, like we're in tune with, so I guess that kind of, I grew up with it. But yeah,
I feel like back then, like it was even more magnified in grade 7 and 8 because your world is so much smaller. It's just your school.
Yeah.
And it's just like, the 60 or 80 or 100 kids in your grade. So those 100 impressions are like mean so much more to you than you just walking down a random street in Atlanta or New York or Los Angeles or here in Toronto.
But you know what's funny? It's funny that you mentioned that sometimes the patrons don't even know what the DJ looks like because, they're in tune the radio all the time. They don't go out clubbing or whatever. But
right.
When I first got on the radio, V103, they thought I was African American.
Really?
And there's still probably a handful of people that still think that I am.
For the people who don't know, please tell where are your parents from?
My parents are originally from Miyazaki, Japan, southern part of Japan, and I was born in Toronto. They came like, I don't know, 38 years ago, 40 years ago, whatever. So,
that's so funny that people
So they trip out, and I remember when I first went on tour with Young Jeezy, we did the whole House of Blues and Live Nation thing going across the U.S. It's like, the Twitter feed was hilarious. Like, oh my God, Jeezy God's an Asian DJ? And then it's like, some people are just like, question mark. But people, I guess, were loving it at the same time because it's so different, especially for him too, because you don't expect that.
Right.
And Jeezy now more so than ever, he's kind of taken, like he'll always represent the hood. Like that's where he's from and that's, his music's that. But his next album is different. Like, so he's kind of trying to grow out, not leave it, but grow out and venture new things as well. So I think I'm a plus to that because, it's like, it's different,
When you first went on tour with Jeezy and over the past, how many years have you worked with him? 3 years, 4 years?
Actually, no, it's still only like a year and a half.
It feels like it's so much longer.
Well, I've been doing his parties and stuff like ever since I got to Atlanta, so maybe because of that. But
in very tangible ways, you're like, if you look in a showbiz terms, like a script doctor.
Mm-hmm.
Like this guy named William Goldman was
right.
a famous script doctor, and he has been said to like do a full rewrite of the movie Good Will Hunting with Matt Damon and Ben Affleck.
Mm-hmm.
He's denied it on a podcast, but that was like the rumor for a long time. So for you, you're like a show doctor because you've been, and I want to get to the big story towards the end to leave the Kanye story.
Okay.
But you artists come to you because they need help to change to improve their show, the flow of the show, the overall the progression, the programming the show in a way.
Yeah.
So how do you what are some of the things that you did from like the first few weeks or months working with Jeezy? What are the things that you put in place at then, and then what are the things that you're doing now? Like how did the show change? What's the arc?
Oh man, where do I start? I wish we were able to start with the Kanye part because everything kind of goes hand in hand. But
well, the Kanye is that's the big story.
Okay, we'll leave that at the end. But so like I said, as a club DJ, programming is important. So I think that's something that most club DJs are strong at, and that's what I think strong at, and understand programming, what song comes after what, and I think that builds the mood, especially for any nightclub and even for a concert. So I kind of use that mentality and also the Kanye thing in my head, and I'll explain that later when we talk about it. I remember the first day when I performed with him, I had no idea what we're doing. We're talking about
Young Jeezy or Kanye?
Young Jeezy.
Young Jeezy. Okay,
so Young Jeezy, the whole thing happened within 2 days.
Oh my God, this is amazing.
And I was gone for 4 months. Okay, so and I remember the first show was in Charlotte, but it wasn't like a real show. It was a club show. It was like an after party of like this tournament that they have out there. So it wasn't as serious. So I was on a flight at 10 p.m. I got in at around midnight and got to the bus around 12:31. I mean, we're talking 1 o'clock already. Like, people are waiting for him, right?
Wait, Jeezy hasn't... Is he performing, or is he just making an appearance?
He's performing.
Okay, all right. So it's 1 o'clock. Okay, yeah.
1 a.m. Mind you, I don't know all his music, like his B-side records and stuff.
Right.
I know his main tracks, but I don't know his album tracks, what works and what not. So I get there to the bus. I'm like, what are we doing? I'm like, I don't even have all your music, right? And he has an instant replay machine. That's a machine where, it's like a sampler where it keeps all your music and instrumentals and whatnot. And I was in the bus with him trying to figure out how we're going to do this. And first we had to figure out where all the songs were and which number it was saved on.
Oh, like on his
instant replay.
Okay.
So there's buttons like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, all the way to
so
40.
What does an instant replay look like? What does that machine look like?
It's a big machine the size of a...
It's like a console?
Yeah, it's a console, like maybe the size of a big 17-inch Mac laptop, but bigger, like thicker, like higher, right?
Okay.
And it has a bunch of buttons, and there's presets of all these samples. And now, because the old DJ was using it, he knows what song is which button, but I don't know anything. So we had to go through each button. There's like, I don't know, 30 to 40.
Oh my gosh.
There's like 10 banks of those 40.
Oh my gosh.
So it's like 400 songs, mixtape songs, samples.
Oh my gosh.
And we're going through, this is 1 o'clock, 1:30 already. We're going through each one, writing it down so we know which song to play. We're going through it. It's like 2 o'clock now, 2 something.
Oh my gosh.
And we finally come up with something that we're going to play. And he's just following what he already knows, like how he's been performing, I guess, for the past whatever.
Yeah.
And then we kind of got through that show. It wasn't as bad. We still got through it and we had fun with it. But the main.
So wait, the people stayed like
People
2 o'clock in the morning. Like they must have been pissed.
Oh, it was like 3-something by now.
Oh my gosh, dude.
Yeah. But people stayed, but the energy wasn't there. People were way too tired. They were probably, because it was one of those weekends, like people were probably there from like 8-9 o'clock.
Oh man.
So so that night was all good, and then 2 days after the tour started, like the main tour, we're doing like stadiums and like House of Blues venues and stuff like that. And I remember I think the first show or the second show was in New York, and New York is like Rolling Stones coming out, all the critics coming out, all the haters coming out, all the lovers coming out.
Right.
And so
like you have to bring your A+ game
like
in New York.
A+, like you have to make sure you're ready. And I remember we sat there in the hotel, and because of what I went through with Kanye prior, I was prepared.
Okay.
And so I came with like a blueprint of different ways you can go. And I'm like, and I told him why we should do it like this. So before, it seemed like his concert was like kind of going anywhere, like just songs put in anywhere he wanted.
It seemed scattered. It didn't have any direction.
Exactly. So I came in and said, hey, we need to tell them a story and kind of go like that, or maybe go chronologically and like give it to him like that. And so when we gave it like that, it made more sense, the way the music flowed, the things that he said in between, and segueing to the next song and whatnot. We made sure everything made sense and flowed properly. And so and then at the same time too, we even did some remixes, live remixes while he's performing, with like using like the hottest beat that was at that moment.
I love that.
And I love that. And at that moment, Paris by Jay-Z and Kanye was one of the biggest songs. So we used one of the beats over one of his other songs, and people lose their mind.
Of course.
And he's rapping over it, and then so when we put that all together, you were still not, like, how familiar were you with his catalog at this point? Oh, at this point, I stayed up all night just to listen to it and learn everything, just to go to school, pretty much. Right. Because there was a lot. You're like cramming. Yeah, there was a lot. There was a lot of stuff that I didn't understand, like the mixtape stuff, especially. That was the hard part, because it was like I never heard of most of the stuff through there. So when I put it together like that and gave it to him, like, he was like ecstatic, like he was going nuts. So you came with a plan. You're like, okay, these are 3 or 4 ways that we can do it, and then they decided on one particular way. Yeah, and then at the end of the day, I put it to him like this: like, when you write an essay, it's like you got the strong point at the beginning, you got the chunk in the middle, and then you kill him at the end, just like a relay race. You got the fastest guy, one of the fastest guys at the front, you got the fillers in the middle, and you got the fastest runner at the end. And that's how we're going to do this concert. We're going to kill him at the beginning with 3-4 songs that he hits, give them a story in the middle, and at the end we're going to hit him off with the biggest hits, and then they're going to walk off like it was the best show ever. Nice. And I kind of gave that analogy to him, and he understood it. And when we did that New York show, like Kevin Lyles, all his like agents and manager were there, and at the end of the show they looked at me like, yo. And I'm looking at that right there is a huge compliment. Just like, yo, when a dude can't articulate himself, he just gives you that look like, yo, man, you like, that like the face, like Robert De Niro and Analyze This, you. Exactly. So I was happy that I was able to contribute like that, and it was just like, it was a good feeling. It was just that's the feeling when you asked me, he's like, it was a good night. It was a good night. So now thematically, you guys have like a theme, and you guys have like a storyline that you tell the audience through his performance. But have you added like the bells and whistles? Like, have you guys put in screens now and like photos, like Hove or Jay-Z in he's got like imagery while he performs and stuff. And I remember a while back he had a couple clips from Biggie that he would interact with a little bit. But is Young Jeezy at that point now where you're adding the video element to his show? Yeah. Or will it be in the next one? The last one of his last summer shows that he's done was in Detroit, and that we got pyrotechnic stuff.
Oh,
and
cool.
like huge Jeezy like plastic light up bold letters that huge, like bigger than us, and it's just behind us Jeezy.
Nice.
That lights up and glows with all the light effects. So it's evolved a lot. And I think for this one, when his album comes out, his singles and whatnot, and his next tour comes out, I think we're gonna do all that, and that's something that we've been telling him about. And those are the things that we need to grow, like evolve into. All the things that Jay-Z and the Kanyes are doing with all the videos and whatnot. That makes a huge difference when it comes to concerts.
Before we get to the Kanye story, tell the audience some of the artists that you've worked with, whether it's being their tour DJ or DJing for a show, or been in a booth with like making music.
Oh man, I mean,
I know you've been on tour a lot, or you've done a lot of shows. You've done thousands of shows.
I remember.
And then tell me how good looking Ciara is in real life, because I was creeping on your website and I saw the picture with you and Ciara.
Oh, man.
And I was on your photo gallery.
Yeah.
You never wear the same clothes. You have like 80 pictures and freaking different outfits every single time.
Oh man.
Sorry, but the people that you worked with.
Looking back on my Canadian run, I mean, the whole Dipset thing, 112, Black Eyed Peas, Sean Paul, Snoop, The Game. I remember when Rihanna first came out, her, Kanye, Jay-Z did a party with them.
Was that the one in the parking lot? It was like over here.
Yeah, you remember that. And then
dude, I was trying to tape it on record it on my cell phone, and it was only like 12-15 minutes, but it was amazing.
Yeah, and then they came to the government after, and that's where that's my residency for
right.
past 10 years.
Okay.
And then they stayed in the small room to drink.
The orange one.
The
one upstairs. Yeah.
And originally it was a soca room, so it's nothing but soca in there. And then my management, Neil, like he came and he's like, yo, you gotta get in there. Jay-Z, like Rihanna, Kanye's in there. You need to go right now. And I'm like taking my time, like, yo, hold on, let me just, and like, no, now. Like I had to pack all my, there's still records. Like there's no laptop yet. There's like records. And so
because we're talking like 06, yes. 05 or 06. Yeah,
right. And we packed up our stuff and went in there, and that was one of my most memorable nights. Like we put on a Rockefeller concert in there. Like it was crazy. Like anything Rockefeller we played.
And this room, like to give you guys an idea of the space, okay, the government is like probably the oldest or the longest running club in Toronto. It's like a famous club, and they do a lot of raves and stuff now, but back in the day it was a staple of a weekend for like urban crowds. And the drink is probably the size of I was gonna say maybe like half of a basketball court.
Yeah,
it's not that. No, it's not that big.
Oh, where?
The whole club is massive.
Yeah, the whole club.
But I'm saying the room that you're spinning in.
Yeah, that's true.
Is maybe half of a basketball court. It's not that big.
Yeah.
But like thinner. But anyway, so you put on a Rockefeller
set, and so that was amazing. And so that experience with DJing for all three of those people at the same time, that was crazy. Other than that, I've done mixtapes with Christina Milian. Oh my, she's beautiful in real life.
Yeah, that was like Nick Cannon's thing for a while. Like he got it early.
Yeah, so that was dope. And then of course Ciara, your girl right there.
I fell in love with Ciara. I've only met her one time in my whole life. It was in Las Vegas, NBA All-Star Weekend, and she was on the red carpet going into a Jordan party. And then I made her laugh once, and I felt like I was worth $1 billion because I made her laugh. It was amazing. Like I'll always remember that.
She's so genuinely nice. Like she's a nice person though. That's what I like about certain artists. Like if you're just genuinely humble and just nice, like she's
okay. So give me a percentage of artists that you've experienced. You can say, I know it's hard to make generalizations. Like 30% of artists are generally really nice people, or is it 65%?
Right.
What is it in your experience, or generally is everybody pretty nice?
Because I'm in the industry and I'm a DJ and they know that, everybody's nice, I think, to me. But I see them in the public as well, and they're different when they're in the public. When fans come up to them and stuff, like they kind of turn
a little colder.
Yeah. they have kind of the cold shoulder sometimes. And I get it though, because it's just too much sometimes, man, and they get used to a certain way.
Yeah.
But they're still like nice to their fans and whatnot. They'll take pictures or whatever, but you could feel like a cold aura around them sometimes, because it's like they're in the public now, whether it's image or whether they're just kind of shelling themselves off from the public or whatnot.
When you're doing a mixtape for someone, you just mentioned Christina Milian, are you like actually in a room like programming the way the songs, or are you do you get the songs and then you get the order and then you just add elements to it to beef it up a little bit?
Yeah, so I'm usually with them. Well, I think I was all the time with them, and then I have an idea of where all the songs are gonna go, and I kind of get them to introduce certain songs or talk about whatever, and then they do the intro and outro, and then I piece it together in production after.
Got it. Okay.
So, but yeah, I've done even stuff with Sierra, Luda, Jermaine Dupri in Canada before I even moved, and that's another thing why I moved too. Not only just to DJ out there and for my production, but I wanted to get out there because I was kind of getting frustrated with I was working with all these people in Canada, but they won't come back for 2-3 years or whatever, and most times they won't remember who I am, and that was frustrating to me because I work with you, I did stuff with you, and you don't remember. But I get it. These guys are A-listers, some of them, and they meet like billions of people. So I'm like, I need to get to a place where they hear me and see me every day,
all the time.
And when I moved to Atlanta, like, it was crazy because people knew about me and I haven't met them. Like Andre 3000, he's like, yo, I listen to your show like all the time, man.
Are you kidding?
Like, he came up to me at Long and McQuaid's, which is like a guitar
store, yeah.
Like Guitar Center in Atlanta, which is like a Long and McQuaid's here. I saw him, he's like, and I shook his hand, whatever, and I walked out. But the guy he was talking to, one of the guys that worked there, he's like, oh, you know who he was? That's Baby You. He's like, and then I came in after, he's like, oh man, I'm sorry, man, I didn't know how you look like, but I listened to your radio show and like with Tigger and like Ryan Cameron. I'm like, oh man, that's hilarious.
Amazing. How long ago was that?
That was just like probably in the springtime.
Nice.
And so that was
3 stacks. Yeah,
so it's like that, and like guys like Jermaine and Carrie Hilson will be texting me like, oh, you're killing on the radio and stuff like that. And that was one of the main reasons to get out there, to be in these people's faces as much as possible, because it's all about building a relationship, especially
100%.
Especially with like the production game that I'm getting into. And right now I'm in the studio with the Brat.
Really?
Oh man.
Oh
she's
my
amazing.
God, Functified.
Yeah.
I haven't heard from the Brat in a while. Well, were you okay? You must have been at that or aware of that. JD had the 20th anniversary.
No, I was out of town.
Oh, you were? Oh, okay.
I totally missed it.
The So Def 20-year anniversary party.
I saw the video, and especially when Jay-Z came out, I was like, goosebumps, man. It was just like, I wish I was there. That looked like that was a crazy one.
So okay, I want to segue into it this way. I mentioned reading Chuck Klosterman and Esquire. The first essay that I ever, the one that stuck with me with Klosterman was about, he had this story about about monogamy, and is monogamy not possible, but is it practical for humans, because we're animals.
Right.
It was a great essay about Jack and Jane, these fictional characters, but they're based on real people. But so recently I was reading Esquire, and Matt Damon was on the cover, and Matt Damon is this unbelievable storyteller. He's got impressions of all these people: Russell Crowe, Tom Cruise, DiCaprio, Scorsese, all these, George Clooney, all these people that he's worked with. He's got impressions of them. And the writer of the article said an interesting thing. He said, famous people tell stories about people more famous than they are. And I was like, that's really interesting, because I tell stories about Kobe Bryant and my experience with like LeBron James and Aaron Rodgers and whatever. I just heard this Justin Bieber story that I'm going to tell you just after this. But like, so Matt Damon told a story about Bono and Paul McCartney that Bono told him. He told a story about Tom Cruise firing a stuntman because Tom Cruise does all his stunts, and the stuntman was like, well, this is too dangerous, Tom. So then Matt Damon impersonated Tom Cruise, like, you know what I want, and I can't do a Tom Cruise impression, but you know what I did then, Matt? He's like, what? I fired him, Matt. So here's a Tom Cruise one, and then he closes with this George Clooney and Russell Crowe story. But okay, so and this is all a segue to get to this Kanye one, because I heard a little bit from Neil. Shout out to Neil Forster, great dude, great promoter.
Yeah.
He's firmly rooted in the MMA world. He connected me with Phil Davis, who I had on this podcast once. So thank you again, Neil. But so Bieber was here. Have you worked with Justin Bieber?
I know his camp, but I never like directly worked with him yet.
So he was here in Toronto on like Friday, and he was at this club called Everly, which is actually it's a very fun spot on King Street West. And some guy tried to jump him or something in the club, and then obviously he got his ass kicked. But later, Bieber had an after party, and I know a girl who went to the after party. And so they're at the Trump Hotel, and they're just partying, and she's like, it sucks that they made us give them our phones because I wanted to take a picture with them. I'm like, well, in that situation, you can't ever ask for a photo because you have to act like you've been there before. You have to just enjoy the moment. And the interesting thing that she said was that Bieber during this after party at the Trump Hotel was playing only his own music while they were just hanging out until the sun came up. And it's funny because Aziz Ansari has this great joke in one of his stand-up shows about Kanye going to Kanye West's house, and he walks in and Kanye's playing his own music, and Aziz is like, yo, Kanye, why are you playing your own stuff? He goes, it's dope, right? So that was my long introduction to now. I want to hear this story about the genius and the process of working with Kanye West. Tell the audience about how you got to meet him, and then what it was like working with him.
Okay. But it's funny that you did tell me that story with Kanye playing his own music, because when we went up to his hotel room one time hanging out, like Cardinal was there, like a group of people were there, and we're just hanging out in his hotel room, and he was banging his own music, and he's just feeling it. He was feeling it. Like, he was like, yeah. I'm like, and all I could do is, yeah, too. And it's like everyone else is, yeah. But it's just funny that someone called him out on that.
Yeah,
that's hilarious.
Aziz has a great bit about it.
Yeah. But Neil was actually the first ones to bring out Kanye to Canada. So we were able to do his shows out here, and I remember I opened up for his shows, and so was
that the one at the government or at the docks?
I don't know if it was the docks. I don't remember.
Oh,
I don't even remember.
That was the first time I saw him. He has own show at the docks. It was him, John Legend. Remember the violin,
exactly.
Miri Ben Ari or whatever her name was.
Yeah, she was part of that whole circle.
Oh, she did We Gon' Make It on her violin.
Yeah, she's crazy.
And the place went crazy.
Yeah.
She's doing Biggie on her violin. Anyway, sorry.
Yeah,
so Neil would bring out Kanye West to shows here in Toronto.
And that led me to get that whole mixtape situation with him, and that was a good time. And then after I moved to Atlanta.
So wait, for that mixtape with Kanye, we're talking like 06 or 07, maybe probably like 05 or 06, maybe even 04. I think his first record was like 04, 03 or 04.
Through the Wire was the only song that just came out, and that was it still. So it was still new, I think.
Because he did H to the Izzo, and he did, he produced it, and that was, I think, 2001. So yeah, it's probably like 2003 is when he started putting out his own stuff.
Yeah, it must have been around there. So,
okay, sorry, but for that mixtape, were you in the studio with him, or did you get a collection of songs and you sort of put it together and had him record some vocals for it?
Yeah, I actually had a collection of songs, unreleased songs. Like, we're talking right after his accident, so he sounded different. So I had a bunch of those songs and put it together in a sense, and then even used like his production stuff, because he did a lot like Izzo and all that, Lucifer and whatnot.
Right.
Like, I took that and played it on took samples of it, reconstructed it and whatever, made it into a mixtape. So that was that mixtape, and it's still actually online, I think.
Is it?
Actually, it's on my podcast, babyyou.podomatic.com.
Sick. I'm gonna download it.
And yeah, and then when I moved to Atlanta, this was years after, and he still has the same management, so they remember me as well. The Watch the Throne tour started in Atlanta. The first two shows started in Atlanta. I was
you don't understand how excited I am for this story.
Actually, I was out of town. I had to do a gig in like Vancouver or something, so I had to pre-record my radio shows and we knew that Jay and Kanye is coming, so I put together a mix show where it was a mashup between Kanye and Jay only, going back and forth, vocals on each other's instrumentals. Sick. To using samples they sampled and put it all together, and that's online too because it was something that was requested a lot, and that got their attention, and they hit me up. It was a morning show, actually. Frank Ski's. It was still Frank Ski in the morning. It was a different guy. And he called me. He's like, yo, where are you right now? I'm like, what do you mean? I'm in Vancouver. I'm far away. I'm like 5-6 hours away of flight. And he's like, okay, Kanye wants to see you right now. And I'm like, oh, okay. Well, I'm not there, so this is how I'm talking. I'm just like, oh yeah. And that's me. That's always been me. Neil will tell you, like, even the Jazzy Jeff 40th birthday, he's like, oh my God, I can't believe it. He asked you to DJ his birthday. I'm like, oh yeah, okay, that's cool. When we going? And he's like, what? That's all you? That's all you have? That's all you gotta say? But anyways, so when he came up and said, Kanye wants to see, I'm like, okay, well, I guess when you get back, I don't know, like, I'm gone. And then he's like, okay, I'll call you back. And then they're just like, okay, they decided to fly me out. The third show was in Greensboro, North Carolina, and they flew me out there to meet with him. And it was like a reunion because I haven't seen them in a long time. I don't know if Kanye really remembered me, but he was like, oh, because I haven't, it was like a long time ago. And
so the Watch this is now 2012, the Watch the Throne tour, or is it 2011?
It was.
It might have been 2011.
No, wasn't it last year? 11-12, I think it was like.
Because I missed the show in Toronto because I was at the Grey Cup in Vancouver in November of 2011. Oh no. Yes, because the Grey Cup was here last year in 2012. So 2011, 2012 is the time. Sorry, keep going.
And actually, this story leads to an even bigger one with what you're expecting right now.
Sick.
Okay, so he heard the radio show in the morning, and he just loved the way I put everything together. Like, all that mashup stuff is not new to him. Like, he knows DJs and how they DJ, so it was like nothing new to him, but he just liked the way I put things together. And so he wanted to talk to me how to make his tour, his concerts better, like by adding certain things and whatnot. So he wanted to talk to me, so he flew me down Greensboro, and we were talking for like 2-3 hours, just hanging out.
Okay, wait. Okay, you get to Greensboro. Okay, you land at what time?
I landed probably like mid-afternoon. 3,
and
4.
then where do you go meet Kanye West?
Like, we went straight to the Coliseum.
Okay,
like,
so right to the
arena.
venue.
Yeah, and he was there in his room, and we just.
So who else was in the room?
It was just me and him.
Just you and Kanye.
Yeah,
so
and his buddies were walking in and out, but it was just me and him.
So like, where's Jay-Z at this point? And had you met Jay-Z before?
I never directly. He was standing beside me right before he was about to perform. But it was at a point I didn't want to bother him because, you're about to perform. I don't know how certain artists work. So, I'm not going to go, hey, I'm baby. I'm like, I'm good. I'll probably see you later. I'll meet you one day. Like, It's all good.
Yeah.
Better time. Like, and then, when I got there, we just sat down and just talked about what we can do to make,
So but what is that conversation like? Like, so he's like, this is like show number 3 of Watch the Throne. These guys are performing for an hour and a half together.
Yeah.
So how does Kanye talk? Like, does he have wild ideas? Is he big on like theme? Like, this is what I'm feeling. Is he a big emotional guy? Or is he like technically like, okay, from songs 5 to 8, these are the songs we want to kind of have this kind of a feel, and this is what's going on in the like what because he's calling on you to help to improve. You're the friggin' show doctor. Okay, and so so what is this? What is he saying to you?
So now this is what I learned from this whole Kanye situation. What I implemented into the whole Jeezy thing, and this is what it was. These guys, these artists, and when you're at this level, they don't want to talk. They want to listen to what you have to say and what you have to give them. So when I met Kanye, he's like, so I kind of do this and this and this, and what do you think about that? And I'm like, that's cool. And I'll give my input, and then I'll be like,
but okay, wait, baby, what are those this and this and this? And then you give your input. What are those?
Like,
things?
just random things. Like, I have this song, right here, and I say, I don't remember exactly, but I say this to get into this next song, and do you think what should the next song be? Should I stay with Jay or like whatever? Like, so it was just random stuff like that. And
now,
then,
had you seen the concert yet? Like,
that's the thing though. Like, I haven't seen it, or I don't even know the playlist, so it was hard for me to really give him the best. Like the advice, because I was like, I've never even seen, I need to see the show first. And it was because it was so new, like nobody had reels on it or anything like that. So it was really tough. So going back to my story, is like, what I learned with these guys is that they want everything given to them and they want to choose A, B, C, or D. Just like you're trying to sell them something.
Right.
They don't want to, they just want to see the end product on which direction they could go, and they want to pick it, and that's it. And that's what I learned and brought it to Jeezy, and that's why it worked so perfect. Like, he was like in another world. So with Kanye, I didn't really have that, because I had ideas, but I didn't have that ready in a sense, which kind of sucked, because, I wish I had different ideas. But at the end of the day, though, I'm going in, and I'm like, I don't even know if he wants to even listen to it. This is Kanye. We're talking about Kanye. Like, what do you want to know? Like, the show is already good. You already know that. So what do you want to change, like, at the end of the day? Like, we're bouncing back ideas, and he loved some of the stuff that I was giving him.
Like what? Like
some wardrobe changes and stuff. Like, why don't you guys wear, like, old school stuff when you do old school, like your, like the old tracks that you first started out? Like, why doesn't Jay come out in his like, Timberlands and like baggy jeans and like his jersey, stuff like that? Like, we're just giving random ideas to change it up, and even because it was Halloween too, it was during Halloween. So we're like, for one of his songs, why don't we use Vincent Price's voice to kind of segue into that next song and stuff? Oh, for Monster, because it was kind of like scary. So
yeah, and Vincent Price is the famous voice on the Thriller, Michael Jackson's Thriller.
Yeah, so stuff like that I was giving an idea, and he loved it. And what I don't know if we used it, because it was funny, because I think the engineer was hating on me.
Who was in the room at the same time?
Well, he came after, like. It wasn't hating on me because I was giving ideas or whatever. He was hating on me because it was more work to change anything on the Logic thing. And I felt it, and I was just like, it's cool, like, whatever. Like, so those are the things that was happening. And it was funny, like, talking to him face to face, and like, we're both industry people, so like, you don't feel it. Like, it was just a normal conversation. Like, it was cool. Like, he was just a normal dude. Like, now it's like he doesn't smile or anything in public and stuff like that, like the weird stuff that he does. Like, it was never like that. We're just laughing, busting jokes and whatever. And so
did you feel anxious, like, on that plane from Vancouver to Charleston? Greensboro, North Carolina. So, what were your expectations, and what was your, like, level of anticipation?
I wasn't expecting anything. And just like how I answered Frank Ski on the phone, I'm just like, okay, cool. So I was excited, but not like nervous or overly excited. I'm like, well, I've done a mixtape with him already. I already know it was nothing new to me, so I was just going in to just talk to him and see how it goes. Like, who knows? Like, did you know why he wanted to see you? Or they wanted to see you? They didn't really make it clear at the end of the day. They just wanted to see me. Like, I was more excited if he wanted me to be his DJ, because I wasn't Jeezy's DJ yet at that time. So you were or you were not? I wasn't. I wasn't yet. And it was probably like 6 months after that, 4 or 5 months after that, I became Jeezy's DJ. So I had no expectations. I was just like going in. So you sit with Kanye for 2 or 3 hours before the show. Yeah. And he's asking you for ideas and input, how to make his performance and how to make the show better, work on segues, that sort of thing. So you're giving these ideas blind, having not seen the show, and then what happens? And then they do the show. Everything's great. I got to see everything, and I understand it better now. Where did you sit for the show? In the VIP area. Okay. Like beside Beyonce and all that. That's amazing. Like, it was great. Yeah, it was funny. Like, who else? So who was there? Like, who? Like Beyonce. Beyonce was there, and no other celebrities other than Beyonce was there. Like, other than, like, in that area, like, all her friends are there, but just like celebrity wise, it wasn't, because it's Greensboro. I don't know if anybody was out there. So right. And then after the show, I was able to kind of process it and give him more ideas on how it was and whatever. So we kept in touch a little bit after.
So wait, Kate, but just tell me about the night. So you should watch the show, and then the show ends, and then so like you're in this VIP area, and then where do you leave? Do you hang around? Is there like what happens immediately after the show?
Well, we hung around for a bit, but the thing is, they have a show the next day, and they took a private plane right after, like pretty much like an hour after the show, and they just flew off. But we talked after the show and whatnot, and what was good and what could have been, you know.
What ideas did you give him? What notes did you give him?
Honestly, I don't remember, man.
What do you mean you don't remember?
I don't remember, man. I really don't. I really don't.
But in subsequent conversations, do you remember some of the things that you guys discussed?
I think I remember all the good points. There's certain things that he was saying that was very witty that segued into the next song, and those are the things that I liked about his stuff. But looking at the whole entire show, it was kind of going. One of the things I guess I did mention was that the track listing was all over the place in a sense. Like it wasn't really making those old to new Jay-Z stuff and Kanye stuff all mismatched everywhere, and I guess for him it worked a little bit, but I think I would have cleaned it up a little bit, and that's one of the things I think I mentioned to him back then.
Now the whole idea for Watch the Throne, in this 2 or 3 hour conversation, did he tell you conceptually about the album and what they wanted to do in the tour? Like I know they recorded it in like Australia, and they recorded some of it in England, just like at these random places. I remember seeing that one video where Russell Crowe was randomly at the studio, and then Kanye's playing that one part of that song. I can't remember the name of the song, but he's like, so basically Russell ain't there only Russell Brand, Russell Crowe, 7 zeros and a whole lot of O's or something like that.
Right.
But did he give you his impression or his idea thematically of what Watch the Throne was?
I actually had to Google what Watch the Throne really meant. I don't exactly...
Like beforehand or afterwards?
Yeah, before, because, you know, I didn't really... You know, every album has its own identity and story behind it, and sometimes it just doesn't make sense, like, you know. So, I'm just thinking like two kings together trying to make this album work, but it was deeper than that. If you Google it, I just don't remember exactly.
I've never Googled it, but so I'm just curious if Kanye articulated that to you.
Yeah, well, not really. Like, he didn't really get into it too much, but I kind of had to put it together. So that's why I was trying to keep that in mind and trying to see what kind of tour he's doing. So,
did you ever speak to Jay-Z during this time?
No, but this is the best part. This is the best part. So after all this happens, a week later, I was in New York. Or maybe a couple weeks later, I was in New York. I was invited by Def Jam to go to Frank Ocean's first show, ever performance.
Sick.
And so they flew me out there, and we're hanging out. I went to Def Jam,
the office,
and we're hanging out, and meanwhile, the Frank Ocean show got canceled because he got strep throat, or like he lost his voice or something like that. And so we're at the office, and Pekkas, who's the main dude at Def Jam there, and I guess one of the guys introducing, he's like, oh yeah, and told him like briefly about the whole Kanye thing, what just happened. And he's like, and then he stops and he looks at me, he's like, hold on a minute, you're the DJ in Atlanta? And I'm like, yeah. I'm like, you do the morning show? He's like, yeah. Oh man, Jay-Z called me like that day and going crazy over your mix. Like, he called me just to tell me about your mix. And that's when I was like, okay, I quit now. I'm good. So that was the best part of the whole situation for me, because, you know, Jay is like,
he's an icon. He's the greatest of all time.
So to hear that from him is just, you know, I was grateful. I'm just happy.
That's unbelievable. That is just unbelievable. So Jay, like, where can people hear this mix? I know we mentioned it a couple of times.
BabyU, BabyYU.podomatic.com. Or you could just go straight to my website and it's all, you know.
Yeah, the website is djbabyU.com.
No, actually,
BabyU.com.
BabyU.com.
BabyU.com. Last story, you briefly mentioned it, and I don't want this to be a throwaway story, even though your life has had all kinds of experiences globally. But you were DJ Jazzy Jeff's DJ for his 40th birthday party.
Yeah.
So he hired you to play his own birthday party.
Right.
And I can imagine a DJ of his stature who's played thousands of parties and events like Questlove, having a legend in the game reach out to you to do something for it would be pretty amazing. So when you did the gig, how did you do it? Like, did you have any guidelines and what was like your set list?
Still to this day, I don't even get why he even likes me as a DJ. Like, I see, I'm like, he knows every DJ in the world.
Right.
He's friends with all of them, the best ones ever. But he likes the way I spin or something.
And 40 is a big birthday. It's a significant birthday. 21, 25, 30, 40.
Yeah.
Maybe 30 is not even as big as 25. Like, it just could just go, well, maybe 30 you become kind of an adult, but then 40.
Yeah.
Please continue.
And it wasn't just me. It was DJ Maceo from De La Soul. He had Terry Hunter, a big house DJ from Chicago, and he had a lot of other handful of DJs that were supposed to come. But that day actually was the biggest snowstorm in Philly.
Oh, wow.
And every flight was canceled.
Oh, wow.
And us being Canadians, we don't care.
Yeah, we're used to it.
We're driving through this like no problem. Like, you know what I mean? And so we had like 2 trucks and we drove out. So
from Atlanta.
From Toronto, because I haven't moved yet. I was in Toronto still.
Oh, okay.
And so like Will Smith was supposed to come. All these people were supposed to come, but because the flights were canceled, not everybody could go. And when we got there and when I DJed the party, it wasn't Laptop yet. This was when I started Serato. This is when he introduced me to Serato, and I still had my records and I brought all my old school stuff. And I'm like, I'm just going to have fun. Remix with old school stuff and, play some golden era stuff, but more 80s retro and the 90s R&B, because that's what I love to do and that's what I'm going to play. And he'll just stand there beside me. And this was even in Atlanta too, like when I spun with him. He'll just stand there and watch me DJ. And I'm just like, till this day, I don't get it. Like, why do you like me? Why? Why are you fast? Like, he's like, and every time I finish, he's like, man, I just love, like, you're a great DJ. I just love watching you.
That's amazing.
Get out of here, man. I'm like, I don't get it. Why? Why? I'm not a scratcher. I just love, but I think that's what it is. Like, he's a humble dude at the end of the day. I don't care how good you are in anything. If you're not humble, like, I can't roll with you. And you lose all your credits when you don't have a good attitude. And this guy is so humble. He just loves everybody, and he doesn't sit there like he's the best DJ or anything like that, even though we look at him like as like the pioneer and one of the biggest DJs ever.
Yeah.
But he'll never act like that, and that's what I love about him. And that goes to show, like, he'll even stand beside me and just watch me DJ and just understand that he'll watch me because he knows I love it. And he feels that.
Is that intimidating?
Yeah, I mean, you got him just standing there, But because he's a friend, I guess I don't feel that pressure anymore or ever. But yeah, I don't know, man. He's just a good dude, and I appreciate him.
Shout out to DJ Jazzy Jeff.
Yeah, for sure.
Bigger shout out to DJ Baby U. Listen,
Cabbie, thank you.
I know you're only in town for like you're in town like your time now is just into hours. Like I'm here for 22 hours. I'm here for like so your window is very short. So I appreciate you making some time for me. For those listening, it's babyu.com, and if you want to hit him up on Instagram or Twitter, it's at DJ Babyu is where you can just go on his website, and then you can just see the friggin' gallery of all those artists that you've worked with and that have come to the radio station, and you've been interviewed by was it Ryan Callahan? What's the morning show called?
Oh, Ryan Cameron Morning Show. Ryan
Cameron, or the Big Tigger Show.
Yeah.
In the afternoon on V103 in Atlanta. Man, thank you.
Thank you, man. Thanks. This is good. Like, this is like the old days, man. I appreciate you, man.
Except for like you're not feeling my hot breath on like one side of your face, me asking you to play Jay-Z or asking to have one of your mixtapes.
It's all good. It's all love.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. And so thanks again. And so I know you are making music more often. So I will periodic. I already follow you on Twitter, which you don't really update that much.
Okay.
Yeah. But I will. So who are you working with, or what upcoming projects do you have as we say goodbye? What can we look forward to?
So right now, I'm kind of concentrating on making remixes for all these popular songs that are out there already. I'm finishing up this one with Diamonds with Rihanna, and it's a little bit older, but it's more of a project for me to just kind of practice in a sense and get my name out there in the production scene. I just finished one for Bruno Mars, Grenade, but that's the beauty of it, like, because now that I'm in the U.S. and I have these relationship with all the record labels, they're like, oh, I love that remix, I'm gonna send it to Bruno. So those are the things that are happening being in Atlanta now. So those are the things I'm doing. I'm kind of just practicing getting all these acapellas. This is my style, so why not take these acapellas and make my own with my own production. So that's what I'm doing, releasing on SoundCloud. You could go on soundcloud.com /babyu and you could check it out. And not only that, I'm in the studio with the Brat. She's not coming out really as an artist, but she's a writer.
Oh, okay.
She loves writing R&B tracks too. So we're sitting down at my house and we're just kind of like trying to come up with different ideas, and she's writing to some of the beats I'm doing. We'll hopefully get it out to other people. And at the same time, all these, people are waiting for me in a sense, like artists and even like record labels are waiting for me. So I'm happy. Like, I'm happy. Like, people are waiting. That's a good thing in a sense.
That's a great thing, dude. It's again, but it all comes down to your talent. Your talent is undeniable.
Appreciate
and,
you, man.
And you're just gonna grow and explode, and like many Canadians have done in the U.S. So
I'm trying.
Shout out to you, sir.
Thank you.
Do not stop, and let's trade lives for a day.
Okay.
Thanks for coming in, man.
Thanks for having me, man.
Thank you for listening to Cabbie Presents, the podcast.